Hi, everybody. We're back today. This is part two of our Rolling Stones top 10 song list. We've done a 1960s a few weeks back, and Gary's here from Physical Format Rock and Roll. Glad to have him. Subscribe to
Rich.
his channel. I'll provide the link down below so you can subscribe to Gary and check his music. Most of you people have already checked him out, so he's got a lot more subs than me, and great channel to check out. Part two today is the 70s Rolling Stones top 10 songs. And what I was noticing the 60s, they were more of a singles oriented band. They had a lot of chart success. But when the 70s rolled around, as most bands of that era, it was more album oriented rock. And they had still had the occasional odd single that fell onto the charts. But these are, for the most part, 6 albums in the classic rock genre that we're drawing from today. We're going to draw 10 songs from each Gary and I. And I just want to run through the 6 albums, of course. 1971, Sticky Fingers. 72, Exile on Main Street. 73, Goat's Head Soup. 74, It's Only Rock and Roll. 76, Black and Blue. And 78, Some Girl. So that's the source material. We're going to each pick 10. I know when I make a top 10 list, I concentrate on the signature songs. I'm not really into the experimental stuff. I like songs that sound like the Rolling Stones, and I like the combination of music and lyrical content, songs that exemplify who they are. So anyway, Gary, thank you very much for being here again. Glad to work with you again. It's awesome.
Glad to be here, Rich.
Cool.
I'll come every time.
Appreciate it. What do you think about the difference between the 60s and 70s Stones?
Well, what you said really made a lot of sense. It started, the first 2 albums you mentioned kind of goes along, with the whole Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and Exile on Main Street. That's kind of considered to be the Stones' golden era. Right. I mean, there's other albums I would add to it, but those are the ones that everybody talks about. Those are just perfect albums. And usually when somebody mentions the Stones' best album, it's one of those.
Right.
So we have 2 of those to choose from. Right. Which I'll be curious as I go through here, how many we pick from those first 2 albums compared to what they did through the rest of the decade.
Yeah. Cool.
I mean, I like all those albums.
I like it all too. I like the 60s. The thing we did in the 60s was so much fun because I just like those songs a lot. But we have some great ones to choose from here too.
Yeah, we do.
We have some honorable mentions. Let's just run through those real quick.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to do my honorable mentions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I've got Time Waits for No One off of It's Only Rock and Roll. Can't You Hear Me Knocking from Sticky Fingers. Shattered from Some Girls. Shadooby. Fool to Cry off of Black and Blue. I just think that's a cool ballad. I love that song. It is. And It's Only Rock and Roll.
Wow, very good.
So
very good. We have like 3 the same on the honorable mentions, and you had some that I have in my top 10, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
The ones I picked for honorable mentions that just couldn't crack the top 10 are Can't You Hear Me Knocking, Shattered, which were the same 2 you mentioned. I also put Bitch, Rocks Off, Miss You, Fool to Cry. We snuck that one in. And I also have Far Away Eyes, that country type song, which I really like. And this one surprised me. I was listening to this today. I've forgotten how much I liked it. Dance Little Sister Dance, which is got that old time rock and roll jamming Chuck Berry kind of sound. I liked a lot.
Yeah, I mean, actually, that could be in my honorable mention too. I mean, I love that song. It's a simple song, like you said. It's just a kind of a Chuck Berry kind of riff, but just the way they sing, it's just got a lot of energy.
It does. I really enjoy that.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of like the Stones are very good at taking something simple and just making it sound really great.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
that's a perfect example. One more I want to add for my honorable
Sure, go
mentions
ahead.
is Sweet Virginia.
Yeah, I like that too.
I love that song. And I know a couple of them songs you said in your honorable mention are going to be in my top 10. So
Okay. Yeah, so we're gonna have a few common denominators. I like that. All right, so we'll do a little bit different this time. Instead of going back and forth 10, his 10, my 10, all that stuff. We're gonna go Gary's 10 through 6, then we'll do my 10 through 6, and then when we get to the 5, we'll just alternate. So be my guest and let me hear your 10 through 6.
okay. At number 10, I've got Rocks Off, which you just
Yep.
mentioned. That kicks off the Exile of Main Street album. And it's just, I like the way he's got that low voice.
Yeah, I know.
The
I
way
like
he
that
sings
too.
that is different. He has a whole kind of different sound to his voice.
Yeah.
That song, the way he starts it out. And it's a cool way to kick off that album.
Yep.
It's just a great opener.
Yep.
Number 9, actually off the same album. I don't know, you might find this a strange pick, but Ventilator Blues. I love that song. I would sing part of it for you, but I have no idea what he's saying in that song. I'd have to go and listen. I just know it goes down, 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 down. And they got that slide that's in there. And, every now and then he's like, ventilator.
Yeah.
That's about all I can understand that he says, but I just think it's a kick-ass song. I'm always going like this when I hear that song. Next, and man, this next song, I'll tell you what, you might ask me, a month from now, this might easily be my top 5, or if I had a couple beers in me, it might be up a lot higher. And that is Faraway Eyes. I love that song.
I do too. It just missed my list, man. It really did.
Yeah, like you said, it's a good country song. I mean, they do it. The Stones have a way of, they can do country songs where, they can do like a kind of Graham Parsons kind of country song, or they can do a country song that is almost like a spoof, but yet it still sounds good. And that's the way Faraway Eyes is.
Yeah.
It almost sounds like they're making fun of country music, but they're so good at it that you can't help but like it. I mean, they're kind of spoofing it with the lyrics, obviously. The lyrics are funny, and it's just got that kind of sound to it. But man, how can you not like it? I mean, I know I've got a couple other friends that like the Stones, and they all love this song.
Yep.
When you're down on your luck.
And it's a sing-along song too. You can really harmonize with them a little bit. It's cool.
Number 7 is what is this one? Oh, this is off of Some Girls. When the Whip Comes Down.
Yeah.
Just a good rocker, man. That's, I love that song. When the shit hits a fan, I'll be sitting on my chair. It's got some funny lyrics in that song too.
Yeah.
But just the whole, when the whip comes down, it's got that great guitar line in there.
Yeah.
It's just a good rocking song.
Good pick.
Then at number 6, off of Black and Blue, is Memory Motel. Another country song, basically. That's a song that I didn't really like that song that much until I was older. Yeah. And I kind of rediscovered it because basically Black and Blue at one point was an album that I just kind of dismissed because there are some throwaway songs on that album.
I think so.
And I went back and, re-listened to it. I don't know. I mean, it's been quite a few years back, but like as a kid, I'm saying I didn't care for it.
Yeah.
But that song, Memory Motel, it's got a sense of, I don't know, it's kind of a dramatic sounding song in a way. And I like that part where Keith comes in with that raggedy voice and he goes, "She got a mind of her own, and she used it well." And then they go back into Mick.
They're sharing vocals. Yeah, I like that.
And I love that, man. When they do something like that, I think that's really cool. So
yes, that's good.
Memory Motel is definitely a song that, if you'd have asked me 25 years ago, probably wouldn't even have been in my top 20 or anything. But now it's just one of my favorite Stone songs. So
very good.
That's my 10 through 6, Rich.
All right, cool. You mentioned Black and Blue. Just want to show you my Stone CDs. I got, of course, let me get the glare out of here. Oh, there we go. You got Sticky Fingers. You got Exile. Goat's Head. It's Only Rock and Roll. Notice I don't have Black and Blue. It's the only one I don't own. And There Comes Some Girl. So I feel kind of what you do about it. It's got a couple good tunes, but overall, it's my least favorite album of theirs of the 70s.
Oh yeah, mine too, for sure. But like any Stones album, there's going to be some good stuff on
there are definitely some good tunes on there.
Now, has it been a while since you've heard that album?
I played it today. And it's been a while. Before today, yes, it has.
Okay.
It's been a while.
I was just curious if maybe you liked it a little bit more than what you remember.
Yeah, I did. I played it on Spotify today because I don't own it. I just wanted to give it a once, go through and see how I thought. And like you said, there are some quality songs on there. It's just not the quantity that you want or have on some of these other.
Yeah.
That's my own feeling. I mean, other people maybe their favorite album. I have no idea, but it's just not mine.
I have noticed a few people like giving it more love than it had before. Well, the Stones themselves, I like the fact that they're at the end of the 70s, they put out an album called Sucking in the 70s, where they just picked a bunch of songs, kind of like a greatest, not so greatest hits that they had. That was actually like one of the earliest Stones records that I bought when I was young, with this album called Sucking in the 70s. So it gave you stuff. It doesn't have anything from Sticky Fingers or Exile, but it has stuff from the albums up the rest of the albums.
Yeah.
So it still has some cool stuff on there.
My first, of course, was like 95% of everybody. Hot Rocks. That's the first one I jumped on.
Yeah.
That had everything on it, of course. And then to expand your horizons, you have to go back and get some of these other great albums. All right, so I'm going to jump in with my 10 through 6. Number 10, I had to have a Keith song, so I went with Happy. I love the song. And he surprisingly has a good lead vocal on there. There you go. And it's a great sing-along. It's got a little positive energy. And I love the line where he says, always took candy from strangers. Because normally your parents tell you, don't take candy from strangers. But the Rolling Stones aren't like everybody else. They're going to go the opposite way, and they're going to take that candy from the stranger. And I like that attitude. You know what I mean?
Well, and yeah, I think it describes Keith too. I mean, you can look at it like he's, always took candy from strangers. Never wanted to get no trade. Never wanted to be like Papa, working at a job night and day. And that's Keith, right?
Yeah.
He didn't want to work any regular job.
No.
You could say took candy from strangers. That could be drugs.
In his case, it probably was. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great song that I will tell you is going to be on my list.
Okay, cool. Glad to hear that. My number 9 is another country-ish song. I had to leave one off before, and the one I picked, I didn't want 2 country songs. I took Dead Flowers. I love Dead Flowers from Sticky Fingers. It's got that vibe that I like. You're sitting there in your silk upholstered chair. The lyrics are cool. Take me down, little Susie. Just the term Dead Flowers. Flowers, you think of these beautiful creatures, and then dead flowers. I mean, to me, that epitomizes what the Stones are about again.
Now that's what I was starting to tell you there, when we were talking before we filmed, was I tried to do this just out of memory. I was trying to picture the songs on the albums to make this list, without going through every album. I thought I'm just going to try to do this. I did not put Dead Flowers on here, but I definitely would have now that you say that somehow, because I love that song, and I forgot about it.
I was flipping a coin basically between Dead Flowers and Faraway Eyes because they have that country vibe, and I could have went either way because I like them equally as much.
Yeah.
My number 8 is one of your honorable mentions from It's Only Rock and Roll, and that's Time Waits for No One. Beautiful song, absolutely gorgeous. A great vocal by Mick too. He's really sings his heart out on the song, and that lick, that guitar solo about halfway through till the end by Mick Taylor is just dynamite.
Yeah.
For a slower song, he's got all these intricate little moves with the guitar solo. And I like the clicking at the beginning of the song and the end, like a clock.
Yes.
Time waits for no one. And you know what? It doesn't. I mean, we're all in the same boat. You only have a limited amount of time. And that's what they're saying here. It doesn't wait for me. Time waits for no one. And I like some of the phrases or images they show. I wrote one down here. It can tear down a building or destroy a woman's face.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty graphic, but over time, buildings will fall and a woman's face, a beautiful woman's face, will age with wrinkles, start falling a little bit. And that's what time does. And it does it to every single one of us. I love the song. And I particularly love that ending with the clock. After the solo, you hear that.
Yeah.
It's like it's still moving on. And in a way, it reminds me, although different lyrically and different sound-wise, it reminds me of Kansas's song, Dust in the Wind, because it's a similar theme. All we are is dust in the wind. We're here, and then we're not. Yeah. So I love Time Waits for No One. 7 is It's Only Rock and Roll, but I like it. The title track. That is an anthem. It's just straight ahead, fist in the air, rock and roll. So that had to be on my list. 6, a classic from Sticky Fingers, Wild Horses. What can I say about this? Again, Mick with those heartfelt lyrics. I loved his the way he can vary his voice, and he does a beautiful job on this song. Wild Horses Couldn't Drag Me Away. It's like a relationship song. He's trying to reassure the person that to hang in there and don't let this thing end. And what are some of the lyrics here? I have my freedom, but I don't mind, but I don't have much time. Faith has been broken. Tears must be cried. Let's do some living after we die. Very obscure lyrics, but they work in the context of the song, I think. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, it's lyrically one of their best songs, really.
It is.
I think. And it's something that it just fits that time period of the Stones when they were just doing fantastic song after fantastic song.
Yeah.
And that is one of their crowning achievements, I think.
Yeah.
That song.
The whole thing, I mean, just beautiful.
Yeah.
So Phil, that's my number 6.
Okay.
We're going to go to your 5 and then back to me.
I want to make one other comment.
Sure.
About, you were talking about Time Waits for No One, is you were talking about the guitar in there.
Yeah.
And how good it is. And even that, that guitar line that goes with, ding, 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 that goes along with the verses and stuff. To me, that was almost like a throwback. That sounds like something that Brian Jones would have added to a song like back when he was still prolific. And it definitely has that kind of that, and with the clock going, like you said, that sounds like that could have been a 60s song in a way. It's just a great song.
Yep. Good.
Okay, number 5. Angie off of Goat's Head Soup. Once again, you were talking about Mick and how he can, use his voice, because you're talking about a guy that doesn't have what you would say is classically a great voice, right? But I don't think there's any singer that has done a better job of using what they have to such great extent. And Angie is just another example of it. It has such a sorrowful sound to it.
Yeah.
The guitar, I mean, it starts out with that A minor. Angie,
Yeah.
Angie, so the whole thing is in that key, and it's with what they say there, with no loving in our souls and no money in our coats, you can't say we never tried. It's like he's talking to this woman. He's saying, look, we gave it our best shot. We can't, I still love you, but it's just we're not going to work.
Right.
It's basically, it's a kiss off kind of song, but not in a bad way.
Right. With a lot of fondness and a lot of great memories. Right.
Yes. It's like, I love the time we had together, but it's not for me now. I'm moving on. I'll always remember you. Try to think of me in a good way. It's just a great song. Great song all the way around. Next one.
We're going to go back to me for 5, and then we'll go back, right?
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Right.
This is a new format.
We changed the premise, ladies.
New format, ladies and gentlemen. All right. My 5 is from Some Girls, Beast of Burden. It's my favorite song off that album. It's the only one I have in my top 10. It's up to interpretation, but what I read was that Keith wrote this after he came off one of his drug binges, and he wasn't putting much into the group, and he was trying to let the other guys know, Mick and the guys, that I'll never be your beast of burden, that thank you for waiting, and we're still in this together, but he had to get some of that stuff out of his system. That's what I got out of it anyway. I'll never be your beast of burden. I like the 2 different pretty. He's doing the pretty thing, and then he's doing never, I'll never be, just a great constructed song is where I have to put it. And Ron Wood does a good solo on this as well, joining the band. Great stuff. Beast of Burden. I like that whole Some Girls album, but for some reason, a lot of them ended up as my honorable mentions, and this is the one I chose to put on the list.
I guess I had a few on here, but that song. What's funny is, that's one of those songs too. Once again, that Mick really carries that song.
Absolutely.
I remember being in like a garage band when I was young, and we played that song. And if you don't, unless you've got that singer out there doing it Mick Jagger style, it's just a very repetitive sounding song.
Yeah.
Because I remember when we did it, and it was always, we'd play it, and by the time we were done, I'm like, I don't know. That just doesn't have that snap like when the Stones do it. You got to have a singer, put a lot of personality into it, or it
That's
just
what he
doesn't
does.
work.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, now it's my number 4.
Number 4.
And it's just that demon life that's got me in its sway. I think that's a cool song. It's kind of a mid-tempo song.
Yeah.
It does rock a little bit. Once again, fits in with that time period right there in the very early 70s. It's got that kind of sound to it. It's got a little bit of a country tinge going on there. The vocals, the chorus, I love that chorus, when they say that. It's just that demon life has got me in its way. And then they go into verses, and the verses kind of change from the way the chorus is. And it just, once again, it just works. Everything to me on that song works. And I love it. Number 4, Sway.
Very good. My number 4 is off of Goat's Head Soup, Heartbreaker. Do 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 all that stuff. I
Yep.
just like how it's topical and it talks about the violence going on with the 44 and the gun and the sticking needles in the arm. It's bringing all that urban chaos to the forefront. It's not about a specific incident, according to Mick Jagger. It just talks to the violence in America, the guns, the drugs, some of it's kind of a negative song, but it's beautifully sung. The police in New York City chased a boy through the park in a case of mistaken identity. They put a bullet through his heart. Just so graphic. And then you're talking about a girl, a 10-year-old girl in a street corner, sticking needles in her arm. She died in the dirt in the alleyway. Her mother said she had no chance, no chance. Heartbreaker.
Yeah.
If that doesn't break your heart, nothing does.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
And it's like an in your face kind of, you know.
And I also like that song. Normally, I'm not a big fan of horns in rock
Yeah,
songs.
it's got big time horns in there.
Yeah, when that comes in at the end like that, it goes da 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 da. That sounds cool.
Yeah.
You know, I really like that. Yeah, that is a good one. And once again, that didn't make my list. I guess I thought of it, but I don't know. That's a song where I do like it, but there was a point, I guess, when I first heard it that I was not a fan at all. But yeah, I definitely like it now. So just
Very
not
good.
enough to make my list.
That happens.
Yeah. Number 3, you already talked about it quite a bit, and that's Wild Horses.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why I was adding some comments on there because
I had some more.
I had it so high in there, but to me, that's one. It might be it might be their best lyrical song. I just think. I mean, I say that, but I'll wake up tomorrow and go, oh, that was stupid. What about this? But it's just perfect. The verses in there. And I love the way, I mean, it's very simple. It's not like he does anything amazing, but I love Charlie Watts on that. That's a perfect example of being a tasteful drummer.
Yeah, well, that he is. Yep.
You know, he doesn't overplay stuff.
Mm-mm.
And he just, the way he just kind of comes into that, he accents where he needs to.
Yeah.
I've seen him. Well, they did that. That they had that album, that Unplugged album that they did. I think it was called Unplugged. I don't know what it was called. No, Stripped. It was called Stripped. Yeah, they did that in the 90s. And they did that song there where they're just playing it live in the studio. And in that version, he actually used brushes instead of sticks. And does a terrific job of that too. He actually changed like a couple points where he came in as opposed to that original recording. But it's great. I don't know why. That's one of my favorite things about that song is his drumming. And it's not like it's, Carl Palmer, amazing stuff going all over the place. It's just really simple things, but I love Charlie Watts as a drummer.
He's not over the top, he just does what's necessary. That's all.
He's like Ringo Starr and the Beatles.
Yeah.
He plays what is needed for that song. And I hear people sometimes, in magazines or whatever interviews, they talk about Charlie Watts like, they'll say, well, it'd be different if he was just some simple drummer like Charlie Watts or something. I'm like, you don't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because Charlie Watts is playing what fits those songs.
That's right.
Charlie Watts makes that band swing.
Yeah.
If you had John Bonham might be my favorite drummer, but would John Bonham fit in the Rolling Stones? No.
Mm-mm.
You couldn't have that heavy-footed drummer like John Bonham, boom, crashing into those Stone songs. It wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Charlie Watts comes from a jazz background.
That's right.
and they basically write rock songs with a jazz drummer who doesn't need to be flashy. But if you ever watch him warm up and different things, he can do that stuff.
I'm sure he can.
You know, there's certain songs where you hear him do, you know, he's got some pretty cool stuff on the Some Girls album. It's all over the place, but that's just a perfect example of Charlie Watts being the best drummer that the Rolling Stones could have.
And really the only one they've had, right? All the way through.
Yeah. He's been a constant with them. And I've always been curious because, you know, it's funny, you know, he talks like he hasn't really liked touring for probably 30 years.
He always looks miserable when you see him too. He doesn't really have any kind of persona, but he's there, he's steady, and they say less is more, and he's the personification of that, you know.
I don't know if you've ever seen, I just recently saw this. I was watching a interview of Charlie Watts on YouTube from like just a few years back. And they said something about, I understand you've got some kind of pre-show ritual. And he kind of looked, and then he's like, oh yeah, you know how he is. He just talks really quiet, you know, and what it is, he does this little dance. Like before he goes on stage. It was really, you're a Stones fan, you would love to see this. So there's like Keith is off to the side there, like, you know, standing behind the amps, and they still got the music going right before the band's going to come on. And Charlie Watts is standing there, and he's doing this little dance thing, which is hilarious because, you know, like you said, normally Charlie Watts is very reserved.
Yeah.
You don't see him do much, but he's like warming up, doing some kind of dance. And he said he got that from when they first came over here, and they went to Harlem to see at the Apollo to see some shows, and they had these dancers doing that. So he's doing this little thing to warm up. It's hilarious.
That's funny as hell. Yeah.
It's great. He's actually got a sense of humor. But anyway, I went on way too much on that.
That's all right. So my number 3 is one that you had previously, and that's Angie. One of my all-time favorite songs and vocal performances by Mick. I was, again, doing a little research on this, and there's some debate on who Angie is, where the name comes from. I heard it could be David Bowie's wife, Angela. I heard it could be Keith Richards' daughter, whose middle name is Angela. Angie Dickinson, for some reason, would maybe a tribute to her. Or is it a pseudonym for Marianne Faithfull? So a lot of different theories on where the name Angie comes in, and the Stones don't really clarify that. So that's left up to your own interpretation. I just want to focus on a couple of these lyrics, which I really think are awesome. When will those clouds all disappear? Where will it lead us from here? Beautiful. And all the dreams we held so close seem to all go up in smoke. I hate that sadness in your eyes. Beautiful. You know, they know it's over. He can sense there's nothing coming back, the sadness in her eyes. But the way it's sung, and he sort of whispers that in the middle of, you know, I like that too.
Oh yeah, that's great. And it almost makes you think that like this Angie, you know, has some sort of addiction problem.
That's another possibility.
I mean, I kind of get that out of that song.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think in my mind, I always picture it as being about Marianne Faithfull, but
that's one
like
of the
you
theories.
said, like you said, they don't say for sure who it is. So,
and sometimes that's better for the for the listener to develop his own sense of what the song is about and who it's about, to not define everything in black and white. You know what I mean? It's shades of gray. Just let it be out there, and it's up to the listener to interpret it.
Those are normally my favorite kind of lyrics.
Yeah,
that's something that's, you know, Springsteen does a lot of. So,
yeah,
you know.
All the great ones. Dylan does it. You know, all the guys. So and girls.
All right, my number 2. We already talked about it. Happy.
Oh wow, right. It's high up. Yeah, good.
You know, I love that guitar line. That like it's like a circular thing.
Yeah.
Keeps
Yep.
that song driving. And you've got Keith with that weird voice that he has. At that time, his voice was still kind of a bit higher. It's pretty low now,
Yeah.
you know, from all the everything he's done.
Cigarette
But
smoke, the drugs, whatever, alcohol.
yeah,
All of it.
all that and age. So,
Yeah.
but it's just a great song. It's like his theme song.
It is.
One of his theme songs. But and I always love that's one that really carries over well live. You know, if you see some of the film of the Stones during that time period, it's great, you know, and Mick is standing beside him the whole time. He always jumps in there on the chorus. And it's just Keith always looks so cool right around that time period,
With
man.
the
That early
cigarette hanging.
70s, when his hair's kind of got the rooster thing going, and he's still got all of his hair and he's skinny, and it's just he's like the cool looking rock star right around that time period. And him singing Happy, just if I was back then seeing the Stones, I'm sure that would have been one of the highlights of the show.
I'll bet. Very good. My runner-up, or number 2 in this case, is Tumbling Dice. Love it. This is this is what it sounds like, a great rock song. This is a great groove. You crank this up loud. It's just a great jam. I just love everything about it. I think it's the best song on Exile on Main Street. It was a single. I don't remember how high. I think it was a top 10 song, but just a great song. I like the gambling theme in the lyrics too. You know, the deuce is still wild. I'm all 6s and 7s and 9s. I'm the lone crap shooter playing the field every night. Just good stuff. I like everything about this. I even like Linda Ronstadt's cover, but the Stones are the definitive version, obviously.
I like it when he says there's a fever in the funk house. Well, that in the ending of it, you know, you got to roll me.
Yeah, that part there. That's the sing-along part.
The background singers going. Yeah, that's cool.
The whole thing ties together really well. I love that song. Almost made my number 1.
Yeah, that's a great song. You know, it's funny. I was thinking that in a way that there were more great songs in the 60s, but the more you examine it, man, there's just as much in the 70s.
Yep.
A lot of great stuff. Okay, my number 1 is, I don't know if it surprised you or not, but it's Moonlight Mile. That is, to me, just one of those moments in time. I just, you know, I can remember one night, I was probably about 19-ish or something, you know, had a night out on the town kind of thing. And came back home that night. I lay down in bed and I put the headphones on, and I just remember playing that song, man, and it just like it transports you. You know, it just took me somewhere else, and I just picture myself riding down the highway somewhere at night, and that song makes you feel that way, kind of like you're riding down, you got the windows down, it's a warm summer night, and you know, it's just a feeling song to me. It's just the way it feels,
a mood song,
and the sound of it is great. It's probably one of the best sounding songs on that album, and I like, once again, the way Mick sings it is great, and it's very sweeping. It's got this, you know, sweeping sound to it that's very big and has like a romantic sound to it. And you know, the thing is, I don't even think, it seems like I read somewhere that I don't even think Keith Richards plays on that song. I might be wrong, but it seems like I read one time where like he wasn't in the studio at the time when they did that song, which seems weird. Maybe he came back and overdubbed something, but I mean, they had Mick Taylor in the band at the time, so it's not like
Right.
They had to have him there. And plus, it has the orchestra type pieces at the end, that dum, 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 dum. And it's just very majestic, I guess is the word I want to use for that, which, I wouldn't normally use to describe too many Rolling Stones songs. So,
No, not at all.
but that's my number one song out of the 70s.
Very good. My number one is a famous song of theirs. I think more than any other song, it just jumps out of the speakers right from the beginning, and that's Brown Sugar. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, that's just a classic riff, a beginning, and it never lets up. I know the lyrics are kind of scandalous now compared to, in our woke America right now, where you can't talk about certain things, but it mentions slavery, it mentions rape, interracial sex, whatever. But you have to take it for the time that it was made. It's bold, it's daring, it's in your face, but it's great rock and roll. And I just think it epitomizes the Rolling Stones sound. It oozes that sex, drugs, rock and roll. Brown sugar, how come you taste so good? I mean, yeah. I mean, it's just woo. It's just killer, man. It's killer. And it has to be my number one. If I'm being honest with myself, that's my favorite Rolling Stones song, and it really always has been. So,
yeah, and even though it still has cool lyrics to it, like you said, some of it maybe not in fashion now, but
right.
I bet your mama was a tent show queen, had all the boyfriends by Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I'm no schoolboy, but I know what I like.
That's a classic.
You should have heard me just around midnight. Everybody gets into that.
Yeah.
And it's a great song. And I guess the only reason it wasn't on my list is just overplay is all.
Yeah.
I have a hard time because, like, I guess when I'm making these lists, I'm thinking about the songs I like to hear.
That's cool. That's what you should do. Yeah.
I mean, if I was going to say, okay, what are their actual best songs that they have written? Obviously, Brown Sugar is going to be there. It's going to be on that list because it's a great rock song.
Yeah.
And it does rock. Do I still love to hear it live if I see him in concert? Yeah, of course I do. And if I can go a period of time without hearing it, it's still great to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of times what I will do is if I'm going to play Sticky Fingers, I'll skip that song.
Wow.
I'll skip that song and probably bitch. And, until like later on down the road or something, then, if I haven't listened to that album for quite a while, then I'll do it. But, the bad thing is how many times I get in the car and if I'm turning the radio,
I know that's a problem.
There it is.
And Tumbling Dice too, they play a lot, but I still think they're their best two songs from that era. I mean, I'm gonna, and Angie too. I like those popular songs.
Yeah, and you're right. Angie is on my list, and it does get played an awful lot. So,
but it's just what you want. Like you said, what do you want to hear the most? That's how you define your list. And to me, I want to hear those particular songs, and I sprinkle in a couple of personal favorites, like what was the one I put in here? Dead Flowers had to be on the list, which you don't hear on the radio all that much. No. Even Time Waits for No One, I don't hear it on the radio all that much. I really like it though. It's a fantastic song.
Yeah. But, yeah, it's great. And I'm glad that you had it on your list because it would be ridiculous if we we did our top 10 and we didn't have Brown Sugar.
That's why it's good to do these two-person lists because we're going to cover ground maybe the other person overlooked.
Yeah, and we get some of the same songs.
Yeah.
So that kind of shows you like the songs that we both picked, those are probably pretty good songs. And if there's songs that maybe you're not as familiar with, maybe you should check those out. If there's any songs that both Rich and I did, you're a casual Stones fan, you're like, I'm not familiar with that song. Maybe those are the ones you should go check out.
Well, there's 3 of them on here right away. Happy we both had.
Yeah.
We both had Wild Horses, and we both had Angie. Those three, and you could argue they're three best songs. I wouldn't have a
Those
problem
are
with it.
fantastic songs. Yeah, I mean,
So
I
start
love 'em.
there and then fill in the blanks afterwards. But I think those three are really a great place for a novice Stones person or fan to start.
And we both mentioned Faraway Eyes. If
That's
you
another
or
one.
somebody out there who's never heard that song, you
Yeah.
need to go check that song out.
Check that song out, and a couple and Rocks Off is another one we mentioned. And
Yeah.
Can't You Hear Me Knocking? I mean, there's some really, really good songs here. Let's face it.
What do you think? What would you say is the best album of that decade?
Well, I say it's Sticky Fingers, but I know hardcore Stones fans are going to pick Exile. I think it's a little
I'm
bloated.
with you.
I like
with
Sticky
you.
Fingers the best. Song for song, that's my favorite.
This sounds stupid. I think that Exile on Main Street, great album. I also think it's a bit overrated.
I do too.
Because when I hear people, I see so many magazines or whatever, and it's like they just automatically say, yep, Exile on Main Street, that's the Stones' best album. And I'm like, I probably got 4 or 5 Stones albums that I like better than that. Now, maybe if they would have taken the best songs off there, made it one album, might have been different.
That's what I think. I think you're exactly right.
I just think that there's songs on there that are okay, but really, besides maybe Happy or something, is there any one song on there that's as strong as Brown Sugar or Wild Horses? I don't
say
know.
Tumbling Dice and Happy for me would be the two.
Well, yeah, Tumbling Dice, that's a really good song. And it was a hit.
Let's go back to the like you said, their golden era of 4 albums: Beggar's Banquet, Let It Bleed, Sticky Fingers, and Exile. Exile to me is the 4th best album of those 3. Of those 4.
I agree totally.
I mean, I would flip-flop either Sticky Fingers and Let It Bleed as their best, either 1, 2. Third, I would put Beggar's Banquet, and fourth, I would put Exile on Main Street.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my personal opinion. I'm not saying that's written in stone, but that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I keep in my head, because every now and then I'll do an episode of my top 5 albums of some band, and I want to do the Stones. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. But I know when I make it that there'll be a few people that will be like, "What?" And probably
it makes for good
mostly
debate.
because of Exile on Main Street, I'm thinking.
There's people that love that band and they or that album, and they will defend it to no end. And I respect that. I mean, you have to.
Yeah. And I get it. It definitely has a feel to it.
Sure.
And that's always cool when an album has a particular feel to it. That's great. Like Dark Side of the Moon or something, it creates an image of a feeling to you. So, and I understand why people would say that.
Yeah.
But like some of the things that people love about it, I don't always like. Like, I don't like the way that sometimes the vocals are so buried in the mix of that record. There's sometimes where it's like, you can't understand anything he's saying.
Yeah.
I mean, there's certain songs on there where I don't know. It just seems like it's kind of muddy sounding. It definitely doesn't sound as good of a recording as Sticky Fingers or Let It Bleed. No, in my mind.
I 100% agree with you. But anyway, we're going to leave it there. I'm going to Gary and I will figure out what we're going to do next. We're going to come up with another project, but we're done with the Stones. I think we've done the 60s and 70s. I'm not sure I want to do the 80s, but anyway, thank you very much for watching again, everybody. Appreciate it. Please subscribe. Gary, Physical Format Rock and Roll. Check his channel out if you haven't already. And mine, of course. Hit the like button. Why not? I'll plug my own channel. I'm not above that.
No.
And please leave comments. We'd like to hear your feedback on your personal top 10, what we missed. Add some songs that you think we we blew right by without even mentioning, or support us and tell us, hey, you guys are great, whatever. We'd love to
Yeah,
hear
do
from
that.
you. All the positive energy in the world. Anyway, for Gary, I'm Rich. Take care, and we will see you next time.